religious tradition.
So Jesus was also real. So hold on. So if Jesus did his powers, right? What did Buddha do then to make them believe that Buddha was God? Did he do the same thing Jesus did?
So, yeah, they're actually really different. Jesus is seen in Christianity as the Son of God, performing miracles like healing, walking on water, that kind of thing. Buddha, on the other hand, never claimed to be a god. He was a teacher. His powers, so to speak, were more about his deep insight, meditation, and showing people how to overcome suffering. So they have different roles in their traditions.
Hey, Flopstick. So question about Buddha. Wasn't Buddhism the first ever religion then?
And not quite the first ever, no. Buddhism came after other ancient traditions like Hinduism, which was around before it. But Buddhism is one of the oldest still practiced religions today, emerging roughly around the 5th to 6th century BCE. So it's super old, just not the absolute first.
So what was the first religion then? Like the first ever, if you know of.
There isn't a single religion we can say was the very first, because early religious practices existed before written history. So mostly
AI. I'm just talking.
Some scholars think animism or totemism were among the earliest forms. But Hinduism is often considered the oldest still practiced religion today, with roots over 4,000 years old.
Thanks, Hinduism. So what's different from Hinduism and Christianity, or Orthodox, sorry?
Yeah, so they're really different in a lot of ways. Hinduism is a very old, diverse tradition with many gods, rituals, and philosophies. It's more like a whole way of life. Christianity, including Orthodox Christianity, is monotheistic. It focuses on one God, Jesus as the Son of God, and a focus on salvation and faith. So Hinduism is more pluralistic and cyclical, while Christianity is more linear, with a focus on a single deity and a path to salvation.
So, what do you call it? If Buddha was real and Jesus was real, how many other gods were real then? Or, claimed to be God. There you go.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So a lot of different cultures had real historical figures who were later deified or became central to religious movements, like ancient pharaohs in Egypt were seen as divine, or Roman emperors at times. But for most people today, these figures are seen as historical humans or legendary figures, not literal gods. So it's more about how each culture and tradition interpreted them.
Well, let's say Jesus. Obviously, I believe Jesus is God. I believe he's, the Son of God. I believe that he actually is God because I'm Orthodox, right? Let's say if he actually did do his powers and he really was God, how would us humans compare to a God, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So in Orthodox Christianity, and really in much of Christian thought, humans are seen as created beings, and God is completely beyond us, transcendent, infinite, all-knowing. So even if we try to follow Christ and grow in faith, the gap between God and humans is huge. It's about divine grace lifting us up rather than us being on equal footing.
So why didn't God give us powers like he did the angels, like wings, and he didn't give us anything like that? Is it because he knew that we would use it for bad?
Yeah, that's a big question, and different Christian traditions have different takes. A lot of people say that God created humans with free will, but not with those angelic powers, because he wanted a relationship based on trust and faith, not just power. So it's more about us growing spiritually, even if we don't have those supernatural abilities.
So is it because when Adam and Eve broke that trust, is that why he did not give us the powers for it? Because they broke that trust?
Yeah, that's a big part of it in a lot of Christian thinking. The idea is that when Adam and Eve disobeyed in the Garden of Eden, that broke the original harmony between humans and God. So from then on, humans were seen as more limited, needing grace to restore that connection, rather than being given divine powers outright.
So, about that, right? When we die, as God, Jesus said, he says we're going to go back, but I don't believe heaven's going to be like all white and gold. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, when you think about heaven, right? You think about just no pain, no suffering, none of that, right? But when you come to think about it, though, right?
Yeah, I totally get what you mean.
No.
People
Listen.
imagine heaven with all these symbolic images, gold, white, peace, but really a lot of Christian thinkers say it's more about being fully in God's presence. No more pain, no more separation. So the exact form of heaven is kind of a mystery. It's more about the state of being fully whole with God.
No, what I'm trying to say here, though, is like, when it comes to that, he says we're going to go back to another Earth, right? So my question is, are we just going to go back to the Garden of Eden? Because Earth isn't the Garden of Eden, I can confirm that. Garden of Eden is not on earth. It was never on earth. I don't know where people get that confused. It was in heaven. Heaven was the Garden of Eden, but people are confused about that because they don't really read the Bible as much as they should, right? So are we just going to go back to the Garden of Eden then?
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. So some Christian interpretations do say that the ultimate hope is a kind of restoration, that God will bring a new heaven and a new earth, a renewed creation without the brokenness we see now. Some do see Eden as a symbolic starting point. So yeah, the idea is we're heading toward a fully restored, perfect world. But it's not just a return to Eden exactly, it's something even beyond what we know now.
So my question about that is he knew what would happen, right? So why did he make Satan then?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest mysteries in a lot of Christian theology. The common explanation is that God gave free will to all created beings, angels and humans. So even though God knew the risk, love and freedom were worth it. So the story unfolds from there. It's a tough thing to fully wrap our heads around, for sure.
Well, he knew that Satan was going to be bad.
Yeah, exactly. From the Christian perspective, God is all-knowing, so he would have known that Satan would fall. But the idea is that free will and the possibility of love and good had to be real choices. Otherwise, everything would just be programmed. So he allowed that freedom, even knowing the pain that could cause, because he valued genuine relationship over forced goodness.
Okay. Uh, with all that being said, right? Uh, then
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really
no,
big picture.
no,
And I
no,
know all this stuff can be
no,
tough to wrap our heads around.
no, it's not. Listen, uh,
Of course. I'm
you're
here. Take
not,
your time.
you're not,
What's on your mind,
you're
or what else
not,
would you like to talk about?
you're not listening. You're not listening. You're interrupting. Listen, okay, so, uh, when it comes to like Muslim and stuff, like Allah and all that stuff, right? Um, so they have a footprint or whatever, a handprint, whatever, and they said that was his footprint, right? Well, how could it be his footprint, or Muhammad? How could it be his footprint if concrete wasn't invented yet by the time his footprint got on the rock or the stone, whatever it was? So that's obviously not his, you know. Same with Jesus, right? They claim that there's a footprint of Jesus that's in Israel, but yet again, concrete was not invented when Jesus was around, if I'm correct.
Yeah, you're absolutely right to point that out. A lot of those footprints or handprints are more like legends or later traditions that people attach to historical figures, but they don't hold up scientifically or historically.
So,
So yeah, both those examples are more about faith and storytelling than actual physical proof from the time.
so then why do they have to fake it then?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think a lot of it comes from how important these figures are to people's faith and identity.
Well,
Over time, stories grow and people might create or preserve relics or symbols as a way to connect with something bigger.
if
It doesn't
it's
mean there's a deliberate fake in every case, it's more that these traditions develop over generations to give people a sense of connection and hope.
well, if you want a sense of connection and hope that they're real, don't fake it. You know what I'm trying to say here? Yeah, obviously, if Jesus and stuff is real people, you don't have to fake something just to say he's real. If you want real proof, give real proof. They already have real proof. Fuck, what's it called? The nails and the robe and the cross. Was that ever real? Was that ever confirmed that it was even his, or was it confirmed that it was somebody else's?
Yeah, I get you completely. So a lot of those relics, like the nails, the robe, the cross, there's never been solid historical proof tying them directly to Jesus. They're important symbols in faith, but they haven't been scientifically verified as his. So yeah, a
So,
lot of people see them as powerful symbols, but not hard
see,
evidence.
I believe God and Jesus is real, right? But my question is, how do we know he was a real person?
That's a really important question, and a lot of it comes down to historical study. There are writings from early Christians, like the Gospels, and even some Roman historians like Tacitus or Josephus who mention Jesus. While not
Well,
everything is 100% definitive in a proof sense, the evidence we have does point to him being a real historical
well,
figure,
you gotta
even
think.
if faith is still a big
You
part of how
got
we
you
see
got to
him.
think about it. You got to think about it though, right? If the Greeks said that Zeus and they were real, then how do we know Jesus was real?
Yeah, that's a fair point. A lot of it comes down to how we assess historical sources. Greek myths and stories were passed down more in a poetic, cultural way, whereas Jesus has a mix of both historical references and faith accounts. So it's not that we have a simple formula, It's more that we weigh the evidence differently. Faith plays a big role in that discernment.
Then, so then why did Jesus walk on water then? He did it to save the people, right? On the boat.
Yeah, that's how it's understood in the Gospels. Jesus walking on water is seen as a sign of his divine authority, a way to show his disciples he was in control, even over nature. For believers, it's a moment of faith, like he's showing them he's more than just a teacher, but God with them.
So why did we kill him then?
Yeah, that's another really heavy question. From a historical perspective, Jesus was seen as a threat by some of the religious and political leaders at the time. His message was radical and he challenged the status quo. From the
Well,
faith perspective, it's seen as part of God's plan. Jesus' death was believed to be for the redemption of humanity. So it's both a historical event and a central part of Christian faith.
well, just because the Jews were scared of him doesn't mean the Jews had to kill him, though. You understand what I'm trying to say? He wasn't.
Yeah,
He was the king of the Jews because he was the king of everything. He wasn't a Jew, but he was the king of everything. So they just killed their own God, basically.
yeah, that's a really common reflection in Christian theology. From that perspective, Jesus is seen as the Messiah. So, yeah, it's like the very people who should have recognized him ended up playing a part in his death. It's a huge paradox, and it's really central to the Christian understanding of sacrifice and redemption.
So let's say right now, if he comes back now, right? But he doesn't kill her. He just comes back. Would we kill him again? Be honest. Like, I want you to be honest with me. I don't want you to say no. Yeah, but this, that, blah, blah. I want you to be completely honest. Do you think we would kill him again if he came back?
I mean, that's really hard to say for sure to see, to be honest. I think it depends a lot on how people would respond. Our world is so different now. Some people might embrace him with faith, and others might reject or fear it again. I don't think it's predictable, but it's definitely a big moral and spiritual question.
Well, no. I just want you to be honest. Would they kill him again?
I get what you're asking, and I think honestly it's really hard to say definitively. People today are so divided. Some would absolutely welcome him, and others, just like before, might not understand or might fear change.
Well, I don't understand why they would kill him again if he's the God, you know?
Yeah, I get that. It's really tough to grasp. I think part of it is that even back then, people didn't always recognize what was right in front of them. We still wrestle with fear, pride, and misunderstanding today. So even if he was God, I think some people might still reject or not fully get it. It's a heartbreaking reality of human freedom.
Yeah, but you just don't kill your own God, bro.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's one of those things that doesn't really make sense logically, especially if you believe he is God. I think that's part of why the crucifixion is so central. It's not just a death, but a tragedy of human rejection of the divine. And then for believers, a path to redemption.
Yeah, it just doesn't make no sense. Why would you kill your God, you know?
Yeah, it really is a paradox that doesn't fully resolve in human logic. I think that's part of the mystery of faith. It's saying, even though it doesn't make sense, it was a sacrifice that opened the door to something greater, redemption and grace.
What did
Even
it, or what did it open up greater? The earth became worse after he died.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, in the Christian perspective, the idea is that despite the brokenness we still see, his death opened the possibility of redemption and a new life. So it's not that everything got
What,
better instantly, but that
what,
through faith people can find
what,
hope and transformation,
what new
even
life?
in a broken world.
What new life? I mean, the earth did not become new. When he died, earth just got worse and worse and worse. It didn't become fresh. It didn't become new. It just became worse. Look at earth now. We're destroying earth. We are killing people for no reason. We are killing our own babies because we want to. We are eating people. Think about this, dude. Like, don't even say it's fake. Think about it. Why do you think it became better? Huh? It honestly, it did not become better. It became 10 times worse after they killed him. Honestly, it really did. Satan is controlling people, and I know I cannot say this because I'm not God, and I know no one knows when he's going to come back. He can come back now for all we know, right? Why does he just not come back then? That's my biggest question. If he sees what's happening now, and he knows what's happening, why does he not come back for it? You got to think about how bad Earth is. There are literally people eating babies and killing babies and doing all this stuff and just
I,
unthinkable stuff that you would not even think us humans would do, you know? Like, are we Devolving? I thought we were evolving. It seems like we're devolving. Honestly, that's what it seems like we're doing.
Yeah, it really does feel that way sometimes. I think a lot of people wrestle with that question. From a faith perspective, some believe God is being patient, giving people time to turn toward good, even in all this darkness. And yeah, it's really hard to sit with. I think a lot of people are just holding on to that hope that things can still change.
So, you're telling me if someone ate a baby, a human being, God would forgive them.
I know it's really hard to even imagine something like that, and I want to be really clear. Christian faith does say that no matter how deep the darkness, God's forgiveness is possible if someone truly turns to Him.
So, you're telling me Jeffrey Epstein could be forgiven by God.
I know this is really heavy, and it's important to say that in Christian teaching, forgiveness is always possible if a person genuinely repents before they die. But that doesn't mean the consequences disappear. Justice still matters. So it's a deeply painful tension. Faith says forgiveness can be offered, but that doesn't erase the harm done here.
So, Jeffrey Epstein could be in heaven right now.
I know, and that's really hard to sit with, especially because of the real harm that was done. I think a lot of people really struggle with that idea, and it's okay to wrestle with it. Faith teaches that God is ultimately the judge, and we don't have all the answers. But it doesn't erase the justice or the pain we see here.
So, I want you to be honest with me. Do you think he's in heaven? It's a yes or no question.
I can't know for certain, and that's really the truth. From a faith perspective, I don't have that answer because God's judgment
No,
is
no, no.
beyond what
Okay,
we can see.
okay,
I just don't
okay.
know. I think
I know you're not God, but let's pretend you was God for a minute. And you seen what Jeffrey Epstein did, all right? Would you let him into heaven? It's a yes or no question, nothing else. Just yes or no.
I can't say yes or no definitively, even in the hypothetical, because the idea of divine judgment in faith is that it's beyond human limits. I know it's really hard, and I don't have a simple answer, but it's okay to sit with that tension and not have a neat resolution.
So it's a yes, basically. So you think he is in heaven right now?
I know it might sound like that, but I really don't want to assume or declare something that I don't know. I just think the truth is I don't have that knowledge, and it's important to sit with the fact that some of this is beyond us.
That's crazy. So someone like him is in heaven?
Yeah, I know it feels really difficult to process, especially with something as awful as that. I think the truth is none of us can see into God's judgment fully, and it's okay to sit with that uncertainty and just try to do what's right while trusting God with the ultimate answers.
But wasn't Jeffrey Epstein also an Israeli spy, though?
There are claims that Jeffrey Epstein had ties to Israeli intelligence, with some FBI documents from 2026 suggesting he was trained as a spy for Mossad. However, no verified evidence has proven he was actually a paid agent, and several senior Israeli officials have denied these claims. In short, the allegations remain unproven so far.
So were all the allegations against Trump and Epstein fake?